It's 1971, and happily retired from Test rugby, Brian Lochore is back on his Wairarapa farm. Then the phone rings.
Yeah, well, I was at home on the Friday lunch. I was having lunch, actually, and I got a call from Bob Duff, who's assistant coach, and he said, I wondered if you would play tomorrow in the Test. And I said, well, my first reaction was, no, that's a silly thing to do. You don't sort of retire and then come out of retirement. But after explaining the situation, I really didn't have an option. It would have been okay if nobody in New Zealand had ever known that he'd rung me. I could have handled that. But if I was going to let my country down, that's not me. And so I did go to Wellington, left a note on the table for my wife. she was out with the kids, and I said, I've gone to Wellington to play the Test, ring you later.
And that, in a nutshell, is Brian James Lochore, a man ready to lend a hand whenever it was asked for or needed. A man who served every level of rugby in New Zealand, an outstanding player who became a great leader, a history-making coach, a mentor of countless players, and a revered figurehead of the game. He was a man of the land, a man of family and of community. Born in Masterton in 1940, Lochore grew up on the family farm with dreams of becoming a jockey. He and his pony Winkle were constant companions. Tennis was another early passion that would stay with Lochore his entire life, as would other pursuits. But it was in our national game that Brian Lochore would make his name, a name that came to be regarded with the utmost respect right throughout the rugby world. After leaving the Wairarapa College First 15, he played his first matches for the Masterton senior club side in 1959. A match against the touring British Lions providing an early career highlight when he was called into the Wairarapa Bush rep team.
For me, amazing memory. Well, I was 18 and it was one of my first games, really, provincial games, was against the Lions. Tough though, because we lost a bloke first five early in the game. And we played with 14 men against the Lions side with, I can remember O'Reilly scooting down the sideline and scoring the odd try. But, we competed pretty well.
In 1963, BJ played in the All Black trial and was selected for the tour to the United Kingdom. He made his debut in the tour match against Oxford University. 9 matches later, he was selected for his Test debut against England. In 1965, he was part of the great Wilson Winteray-led All Black side that scored a rare, coveted Test series win over the Springboks. And then, a year later, when Winteray retired, coach Fred Allen took a bold step and named Lochore as All Black captain, ahead of several more seasoned campaigners.
I mean, there was probably 5 guys that I would have thought were going to be captain ahead of me. I mean, I never thought about being captain, but they all became my strongest supporters. They helped me. It took me a little while to get to the point where I could tell them what to do because I felt they knew more about the game than me. But it does take a little while.
It was to be an inspired choice. Over the following 18 tests and 5 seasons, Lochore's team went on to sweep the Lions in '66 and win every test of the 1967 tour of the British Isles and France, playing some scintillating rugby.
One of our real strengths was our forwards' ability to pass and run and support. And while you're not moving the ball, you're not giving them the opportunity to do that. So if you take the opposition wide and you can have forwards running with the ball, and I still think that's our big strength against other nations, our forwards' ability to really play with the ball.
Unfortunately, due to a foot and mouth scare, the team was denied a chance at a Grand Slam when the Ireland Test was cancelled. Lochore's only losses as a Test captain came on the 1970 tour of South Africa. At the conclusion of the tour, Lochore decided that was enough and retired from international rugby after 25 tests and 68 matches for the All Blacks.
Oh, it certainly was my biggest disappointment. While I was playing, I had a few more disappointments later when I was coaching, but that was the biggest disappointment in my life. And of course, it was getting to the end of my career.
His top-level playing career should have ended there, but perhaps against his better judgment, he answered that SOS in 1971, a decision based purely on loyalty, giving back was always Lochore's style. Fortunately, there was much more to come after he'd hung up his boots for good. Club coaching led to representative duties. In 1980, he became Wairarapa Bush coach, taking them to the First Division within 2 seasons, giving the province its proudest moments in many a long year. Inevitably, he was appointed a New Zealand selector in 1983 and became All Blacks coach in 1985. A cancelled tour of South Africa that year created yet more division in the game and the country. But Lochore chose to stay with the All Blacks rather than take part in the Cavaliers tour of 1986. There was never any question over that. That was the year he coached what was to become known as the Baby Blacks, scoring a famous win against a powerful French team, a phenomenal achievement, ushering in a great new era. With the Cavaliers' return, he quietly went about mending the wounds of a divided game. And within a year, Lochore had blended the best New Zealand had to offer into a team that would triumph at the inaugural World Cup in dominant style.
In '87, we approached it quite differently because we didn't believe that our forwards, we could guarantee our forwards could beat France or Australia. So we played a very wide game, and we caught a lot of people by surprise because we had the players to do that.
Once the Bledisloe Cup was safely returned to the cabinet as well, he called it a day, ending on a high note. But again, there was more to come. He received yet another All Black recall in 1995 when he became World Cup campaign manager.
That'd have to be the biggest disappointment outside of my playing career, you know, to see the guys just so poor on the Friday, you know, so, well, sick. And having to get ready for a final on the Saturday, you know, it was just about impossible to get them right. They weren't right, but so they did incredibly well to go to extra time.
And if that World Cup defeat wasn't enough, in 1995 the game again became split in two, this time as professionalism came calling, competing for players and indeed the soul of rugby. Once more, Lochore stepped into the breach. He and another former All Black captain, Jock Hobbs, working tirelessly to keep the country's leading players aligned to New Zealand rugby. Of all the things Lochore did for the New Zealand game, arguably that was his greatest achievement. A knighthood in 1999 to go with an OBE in 1970, Brian Lochore was also inducted into the New Zealand Hall of Fame in 1990 and the International Rugby Hall of Fame in '99. A new century, and in 2000 he helped revamp the National Provincial Championship. And in 2004 he was once again appointed an All Black selector. But when the 2007 World Cup campaign ended in disappointment, this time it was back to the farm and his beloved wife Pam for good. Service to the community, be it in the Wairarapa or nationally, Brian Lochore was always a man in demand and a man who delivered. Be it as chairperson of the Wairarapa College's Board of Trustees, on the board of the Hillary Commission or the QE2 National Trust, just to name a few. Brian Lochore's CV of service was as broad as his shoulders and as warm as the man himself. Lochore remained a staunch advocate of club and provincial rugby. Like his good mate Colin Meads, he believes strongly in the need for New Zealand rugby to do all it can to encourage the game in the provinces. The Meads and Lochore Cups are hotly contested and highly prized in the Heartland Championship.
If you have a look at where a lot of the top rugby players are born and go to school, you'll see they come from the heartland of New Zealand. And I've always said that if you belittle the heartland of New Zealand in terms of rugby, we belittle the All Blacks.
For Brian Lochore, rugby was a game to be won, yes, but equally importantly, it was to be respected for the friendships it fosters, for the bonding agent it is for many communities.
It is a pleasure to be here amongst friends and rugby people. Just have a great day. Enjoy the company. You never know how long you're going to be around, eh, Rod? Enjoy the company.
The English playwright John Galsworthy never met Lochore, but perhaps his words summed up the man better than any other. A man is the sum of his actions, of what he has done, of what he can do, nothing else. And for your actions, Sir Brian, our heartfelt thanks. May you rest in peace.